There were 6 capsules missing, and there are 3 victims.
Tylenol.
We have found cyanide in Tylenol.
Innocent people were poisoned to death for no reason.
Imagine this. You wake up with a headache, grab a bottle of Tylenol from your medicine cabinet, and swallow 2 capsules, expecting relief. But within hours, you collapse, never to wake again. This horrifying scenario wasn't fiction. In 1982, 7 ordinary people in the Chicago area died after taking Tylenol that had been laced with cyanide. What began as routine headaches and colds turned into a national panic, sparking one of the most infamous unsolved crimes in American history.
This product may be contaminated.
Nothing to this magnitude had ever happened before.
Don't use Tylenol.
What kind of person did this?
James Lewis, he's a real-life boogeyman.
But beyond the terror, the Tylenol murders transformed the way we buy and use everyday products, permanently reshaping consumer safety. Before 1982, buying medicine was simple. Bottles were easy to open, packaging was minimal, and tampering wasn't something most people even considered. That all changed with a series of poisonings that seemed random, senseless, and unstoppable. The Tylenol murders were not just about the deaths themselves, tragic as they were. They revealed how vulnerable the public was to tampering, forced pharmaceutical companies to rethink safety, and pushed the U.S. government to establish new laws and regulations. This story isn't only about a crime spree. It's about how one shocking event changed consumer culture forever. In this video, we'll break down what happened during the Tylenol murders, how investigators tried and failed to solve the case, the ripple effects that revolutionized product safety, and why this tragedy still matters today. Part 1. The murders begin. On the morning of September 29, 1982, 12-year-old Mary Kellerman of Elk Grove Village woke up with a sore throat. Her parents gave her a Tylenol capsule. Within hours, she collapsed and died. That same day, Adam Janus, a 27-year-old postal worker, also died after taking extra-strength Tylenol. Later that evening, while mourning Adam's death, his brother Stanley and sister-in-law Teresa each took Tylenol from the same bottle. Both collapsed and died soon after. The pattern was chilling. Healthy people were dying suddenly, with no explanation other than the Tylenol they had swallowed. Within days, more victims followed. Mary Reiner, 27, who had just given birth. Mary McFarland, 31, a retail worker. Paula Prince, 35, a flight attendant. In total, 7 people died in the Chicago area within just a few days, all linked to Tylenol capsules tainted with potassium cyanide, a fast-acting, lethal poison. Part 2. Panic across the nation. News of the poisonings spread like wildfire. Tylenol was one of the most trusted over-the-counter painkillers in America, with more than a 35% market share at the time. Suddenly, what millions of people had in their homes was being treated as a possible murder weapon. Supermarkets pulled Tylenol from shelves. People dumped their medicine cabinets. Police cruised the streets broadcasting warnings over loudspeakers. What made the situation terrifying was its randomness. Anyone could be a victim. There was no clear target, no pattern beyond the product itself. The Food and Drug Administration, FDA, immediately warned consumers to avoid Tylenol. Johnson & Johnson, Tylenol's parent company, faced a nightmare scenario. Their best-selling product had become synonymous with death. Part 3. The investigation. Law enforcement agencies from local police to the FBI launched one of the largest investigations in Chicago history. What they found was both simple and horrifying. Someone had taken bottles of Tylenol, opened them, filled the capsules with cyanide, and returned them to store shelves. The tampering happened at the retail level, after manufacturing, but who was behind it? One suspect, James William Lewis, even sent a ransom letter to Johnson & Johnson demanding $1 million to stop the killing. He was arrested and convicted, not for murder, but for extortion. To this day, no one has ever been charged with the actual murders. The randomness of the crime and lack of fingerprints, surveillance, or clear evidence made it nearly impossible to solve. Even decades later, the Tylenol murders remain officially unsolved. Part 4. Johnson & Johnson's response. While police searched for answers, Johnson & Johnson had to act quickly to save both lives and their brand. Their response became a case study in corporate crisis management. Instead of minimizing the problem, they immediately recalled 31 million bottles of Tylenol, worth more than $100 million, from shelves across the U.S. They issued public warnings, set up hotlines, and offered to exchange capsules for safer tablets. This level of transparency was rare at the time. Many expected Johnson & Johnson to go into denial mode. Instead, their honesty and prioritization of consumer safety helped preserve trust in the brand. In fact, within a year, Tylenol had regained most of its market share. A remarkable recovery considering the scale of the tragedy. Part 5. How it changed consumer safety. The murders exposed a terrifying flaw. Products people consumed daily were vulnerable to tampering. The tragedy led to massive changes in how consumer goods are packaged and regulated. Here's what changed. Tamper-evident packaging. Before 1982, most medicine bottles had simple screw caps. After the murders, the FDA required tamper-evident features, foil seals, plastic wraps, and breakable caps. This is why today, when you open a bottle of medicine or food, you see seals that guarantee the product hasn't been opened before. Capsule to caplet shift. Because capsules could be easily pulled apart and filled with poison, Tylenol switched to solid caplets, which were harder to tamper with. Federal laws on tampering. In 1983, the U.S. Congress passed the Tylenol bill, making product tampering a federal crime with severe penalties. Suddenly, messing with consumer products wasn't just a prank. It was a felony punishable by life in prison. Corporate Crisis Management Playbook. Johnson & Johnson's quick consumer-first response became a gold standard taught in business schools. Companies learned that honesty and decisive action in a crisis can save both lives and reputations. Part 6. Legacy of the Tylenol Murders. The Tylenol murders left a lasting scar on America. For months, people hesitated to take over-the-counter medicine. Trust had been shattered, but at the same time, it forced both companies and regulators to rethink safety in a way that probably saved countless lives in the decades that followed. The tragedy also became a turning point in criminal law enforcement. While the case remains unsolved, it inspired better collaboration between federal and local agencies when dealing with mass consumer threats. And even though no one has been convicted, the Tylenol murders remain a haunting reminder of how one act of cruelty reshaped society. The Tylenol murders were more than just a crime spree. They were a wake-up call, showing how fragile consumer trust could be and how vulnerable everyday products were to tampering. 7 innocent lives were lost, and their families never received full justice. But their deaths weren't in vain. The tragedy led to laws, packaging standards, and safety measures that protect millions of people every single day. So the next time you peel back a foil seal on a medicine bottle or tear open the plastic wrap on a food jar, remember, those safety measures exist because of what happened in Chicago in 1982. The Tylenol murders remain unsolved, but their impact is undeniable, proving that sometimes even the darkest tragedies can spark changes that save lives for generations to come.